Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Lincoln Riley, Chad Bowden, USC, putting the finishing touches on what I would say is potentially a program-changing class in 2026. And look, I'm not saying that to be clickbaity, and I'm not saying that to be over dramatic. I'm saying that because in the next 10 years, if we're talking about USC as a perennial national championship caliber team in 10 years, we're going to look back. We're going to look at this 2026 class and say that was the class that got USC back to where they belong. And it's not only because the talent that they've acquired in 2026, although that plays a large part in it, it's more importantly the feeling that we have around this USC program right now. I would remind a lot of USC fans, look, 6 months ago in the month of December, there were a lot of USC fans that wanted Lincoln Riley fired. And then the rest of the USC fans were like, hey, Lincoln Riley's seat is scorching hot going into 2025. And I don't blame the USC fans for feeling that way. Now we're looking at this program saying that the sky feels like the limit for what USC can be, not only in the next 3 to 4 years, but I'm saying really the next decade in terms of how USC is operating. It finally feels like this program has their identity again. And it finally feels like USC is firing on all cylinders. And I think it starts at the top. Athletic director Jen Cohen, it goes to Chad Bowden, it goes to Lincoln Riley, it goes to the rest of the coaching staff. We are witnessing a program that is aligned in every sense of the word. And yeah, you see plenty of college football fans talking about the NIL money and the rumors that are going on. Yeah, USC, they got their stuff together in the NIL department, but that's not all that matters. You have to have alignment. It's not just to have money. You got to have everybody pulling in the same way. I think USC finally has that. And what excites me the most is that this 2026 class, I think, is going to be responsible for a lot of wins over the next 3 to 4 years. But I think it's allowed USC to recruit 2027 even better. And then in 2028, because the pull, the feeling around this program, especially with what they've done in the state of California, that's going to last well beyond just this 2026 cycle. It feels like USC has found their identity again as a program. And we all know what it looks like when USC is firing on all cylinders and has a clean identity. And I think that's what we've seen USC find over the last couple of months on the recruiting trail. And what I would say to the USC fans here, the 2027 cycle, and look, I haven't gotten into too many of the 2027 guys, but this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that in the state of California, the 2027 class is out of this world. I heard it's maybe the best that California's seen in the last 2 decades. Did USC not time right when to start recruiting the state of California well again? This 2026 class is really good, and it's going to be special. Can USC continue to stack those kind of classes over the next couple of years? Because that's how you get back to where you belong at USC. Want to get into not only why I think this class from a personnel standpoint, fires me up, but I also want to talk about, hey, class superlatives. This is the class that we're going to see USC go out and sign. One of my favorite episodes to do. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, the USC fans, look, USC's not done on the recruiting trail, and we're going to still have plenty to talk about, but this is an opportunity for us to take a step back from breaking down visits and breaking down commitments and just look at this class from a whole and say, hey, what about this class makes it special over the next couple of years? Fired up to get into it. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, here's the fundamental thing that we've talked about a lot in terms of what feels different about this class versus a lot of other classes. Number one, the line of scrimmage. We say it all the time. If you want to have good line of scrimmage play, which is crucially important in the Big Ten Conference, you got to recruit these guys out of high school. It's really hard to go build your offensive line or build your defensive line with guys in the transfer portal. USC has ensured that they're not going to need to be monkeying around that much with grabbing guys at the offensive line position and the defensive line position. But number two, find me the hole. Find me the problem with this USC class in 2026. We've seen USC sign good classes. We see other programs sign really good classes, but there always seems to be kind of like a flaw. hey, we didn't get enough difference makers in the pass catching department. Yeah, I'm a Michigan fan. Michigan's been doing that for the last couple of years. Or hey, we didn't recruit the offensive line well enough. Now we have to go out and try to find 2 starting tackles in the portal. Kind of similar to what we've seen Oregon do. Oregon has signed some really good classes. Haven't recruited the offensive line very well. I look at this class and say, all right, it's got the playmakers, it's got the quarterback, it's got the line of scrimmage play, it's got pieces in the secondary. There's not a position that stands out to me as not good enough. In fact, what I would say is like a lot of these position groups that USC is bringing in, it's elite. Like this is an elite offensive line class. This is a beyond elite defensive line class that they have coming in, especially with the addition of a guy like Luke Waffle. That's what feels different about USC in 2026 in terms of the players they have getting brought in. I think USC is going to look to add a little bit more, and I think it's probably going to be centered around some senior year evaluations. Want to get into what I would say is my class superlatives, and we got 6 to give out. Number 1, the future top 10 pick. Who in this class, and I think you got a few names to choose from, who in this class has the opportunity to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft in 3 to 4 years? I'm going to go with Kenny Pepe. And it's for a couple of different reasons. Number 1, it's just the frame. God don't make many Kenny Pepes. This kid was built in a laboratory to play left tackle, not only in the Big Ten, but in the NFL as well. There's maybe one thing you need a little bit more from Kenny Pepe, and that's just a little bit increased physicality. I fully expect that to happen over the next 18 months. This is a kid that's coming from IMG Academy. Go look at the list of offensive linemen coming from IMG that get drafted in the top 10. It is loaded. And so you feel really good about Kenny Pepe coming to USC, starting for a couple of years, being all Big Ten, and going to the NFL. It's really hard to find guys at the offensive tackle position where the projection is so clean. For Kenny Pepe, you feel so good about this kid being a multi-year starter and a very, very high NFL draft pick. Number 2, most impactful. And y'all know who I'm going to go here because it's my favorite guy in the USC class in 2026. That's Tom. Tom's going to have a massive impact on this USC defense. I think he is, to me personally, I think he's the best interior defensive lineman in the country in 2026, maybe outside of Lamar Brown. I look at Tom and say the value that he's going to bring to USC's defense, you can't really quantify. I mean, he's a guy that I think can go for 10 sacks, and I think he can go for double-digit tackles for loss because his quickness off the line of scrimmage and the power he has in his hands allow him to be an elite caliber pass rusher, but he's also a game wrecker. He's a guy like a Mason Graham, I think, or a guy like Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter, some of these guys that maybe not necessarily going for 10 plus sacks a year, but they're guys that if you're an opposing offense, you kind of got to scheme around. And when you have that guy in the middle of a defensive line being as disruptive as I expect Tom to be, it might not always reflect in the box score. I think Tom's going to have the biggest impact on this USC defense over the next couple of years. How about my favorite superlative to give out, the diamond in the rough, a guy that I don't even know if we really talked about that much because when he committed, there were some other things going on. Madden Riordan, this kid going back. So I was like kind of doing these superlatives and I was trying to find a diamond in the rough, which was kind of sneaky hard to do with the amount of blue chippers that USC brought in. I go with Madden. This kid's a ball hawk and the instincts are phenomenal. Now he's kind of slept on the recruiting side of things and with the recruiting services because he ain't Jet Washington, right? He ain't 6'5", he ain't 210. This kid's instincts, they're elite. The ball skills are elite. Look, you don't run into 16 interceptions at the high school ranks before you even go into your senior year. You don't run into that kind of production by accident. This kid knows what he's doing when he has his eyes on the quarterback and has a background as a cornerback too, a guy that can match up in man coverage. That's what stands out to me. He's a ball hawking safety that knows how to get his hands on the football, but at the same time, he can give you some man coverage production. Wasn't really sure what position he was going to play. He was listed as a cornerback. I hadn't really done too much work with him because, again, I don't think we covered his commitment when he committed to USC. I think this kid can play, and I think he was a great find by USC and the staff early on in the process. Number 4, new superlative. I just came up with this one, full transparency. Face of the program, who's it going to be? Give me Talanoa Illy. I you know, and part of it's just, like Polly with the hair, but more importantly than that, USC has such a rich history of off-ball linebackers that weren't just good, but they were difference makers. That to me is what Illy can bring. And like I look at a guy that, yeah, he's gonna go for 100 plus tackles, but he's also a guy that can rush the passer off the edge, can blitz the A and B gap, can fly downhill and create negative plays. There's a difference between really good linebackers that go for 100 tackles, don't miss a lot of tackles, and are really just solid. And then you have a guy like Talanoa Illy, who I think can have a massive impact on this USC defense. And because of that history that USC has with these off ball linebackers, I look at this kid and say, God, I feel like the fans are going to love this kid because he's a hammer. But more importantly, yeah, I think he has that ability to be like the face of the USC defense. And as good as I think Tom is in the middle of the defensive line, let's just be real about it. Sometimes he ain't going to be the face of the program. As good as Mason Graham was for Michigan, not always super talked about, not always super flashy. I think Talanoa Illy is going to be that guy. Number 5, slow burn, a guy that, hey, we're probably not going to talk about for the first 2 years, but put him in your back pocket. Let's see what he looks like. Let's see what he looks like. I guess what you'd say over the next couple of years, year 3, year 4. I'm going to go with offensive lineman John Fafita. Big body and kind of a sneaky athlete for the size. Now, look, that body composition needs to get right. He's sitting 6'6", 350 plus pounds. Probably needs to shore up that body a little bit. Really impressive athlete for 350 pounds. What does it land? Super powerful, by the way. Just an absolute road grader. What does it look like if he's 335 and the body just becomes a little bit more firm? I think he can be really good. Now, it might take, 12 or 24 months for that to take place. That's why he's a little bit lower ranked. I think he has the opportunity to be just a physically imposing dude, similar to how we're talking about Alani Noah going into 2025. Number 6, boomer bust. I'm going to go Sean Scott from Mater Dei. Just interested to see his role. I think what in my opinion, just as a guy sitting in his basement in Rochester, New York, he is a pure edge rusher and a pass rush specialist at that. I don't think he's going to be great as an all-down defensive end because I just don't know if he'll be big and physical enough to stop the run. I don't know if he's athletic enough to play off-ball linebacker. This kid has a deep bag of pass rush moves. And if they can figure out the right ways to use Sean Scott, and it might not be playing every down, but it might just be, hey, 3rd and long, Sean Scott patches, get in here, Sean Scott package, come on the football field and go pin your ears back and get after the passer. I think this guy can be a guy that goes for 8+ sacks in a season. I think that's the pass rush juice that Sean Scott has. Now, the reason I kind of say boomer bust is I don't know if there's much else to his game right now. And he very well could prove me wrong. But I look at Sean Scott and say that this kid has the ability to boom in terms of being a dominant pass rusher. That's my superlatives. This is my favorite episode to always do. And it felt like a good time to do it. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.